Hello, welcome to Rando Tech Info and my thoughts about the Galaxy S22 Ultra. I purchased the Ultra back in February with my own funds and I have been using it as my daily use device since I received it back in March. And I use it a lot. Productivity tasks, gaming, doom scrolling, streaming, tracking, listening to music, reading, photography, and videography are just some of the things I do on a daily and weekly basis with my phone. And since I'm not made of money, I also use my phones for all the recording I do for this channel. In fact, if you're wondering why you don't see the phone right now, it's because I'm using it to record this beautiful 4K 24 frames per second footage. So I think it's fair to say I have definitely put this phone through its paces over the last several weeks, and here is what I've learned. The display on this phone is gorgeous. The 120Hz refreshing 6.8-inch OLED QHD screen is probably the best looking display you will find on any phone anywhere. Along with the 22 Plus, I think it's definitely the brightest screen you will find on a phone, and even when the phone is maxing out its lumens, the display's colors look good. I actually made an entire video dedicated to the brightness of the 22 Ultra, so if you want to check that out, I will leave a link to that video down in the description for your convenience.
Cool.
As good as the display is, however, there are a couple of things that might make it less than ideal for some users. First is the curve. Yes, the screen on this phone is curved at the edges. Not crazy waterfall display halfway down the side of the phone curved, but curved nonetheless. Compared to the 21 Ultra, you can see the difference is noticeable, although not dramatic. Samsung has done a pretty good job with palm rejection here on the Ultra, although the curved edges do pick up some glare from time to time. While I do normally prefer a flat display, one advantage I will give a curved display is I think it makes it easier to use gesture navigations when the phone is in a case. So there's that. The second thing that might put some people off on this display is the size. If you like a large display, you will love it. However, if you are someone who likes something a little more pocketable or easy to hold, you might find this phone to be a little large for your liking. Let me put it this way. If the Pixel 6 Pro and 21 Ultra are bricks, the 22 Ultra is an even bigger brick. Samsung claims the screens on the 21 and 22 Ultra are the same size. Now, I'm not sure who's in charge of figuring out the screen sizes for Samsung, but I can tell you after taking my own measurements, this is definitely not the case, and the screen on the 21 Ultra is definitely bigger. That combined with the squared off corners means the 22 Ultra makes the 21 Ultra seem sleek by comparison. Personally, I like the bigness of the 22 Ultra, but it certainly won't be to everyone's taste. I also like the minimalist style Samsung has used for the camera array, removing the camera bump entirely. In fact, in my opinion, it's the best looking back end on a phone you can buy right now with the exception of the Pixel 6 series. However, if I had to do it over again, I would probably go with a different color. I ordered the red phone direct from Samsung, and I got this.
What? What the
One drawback I will mention about this setup is I think it leaves the camera sensors more vulnerable, so I would definitely recommend putting a case on this sucker. And while you're at it, you might want to put a screen protector on this phone as well. I've already managed to get more scratches on the screen of my 22 Ultra than in my entire year of use with the S21 Ultra. Now, they are very small micro scratches, so small that I can't really get them to show up on camera, but they are scratches nonetheless, and I'm not the only reviewer who has noticed that Gorilla Glass Victus Plus does seem to scratch easier than the Gorilla Glass Victus that was used on phones last year. Now, normally I don't put a screen protector on my phone because normally I don't like them. However, against all odds, I've actually found a good screen protector to use on this phone that I really like. So if you are interested in such things, I will leave a link to that item down in the description. I don't get anything if you use the link. I'm just a nice guy.
Yes, you are.
Everything else about the build quality of this phone is top notch. It has an IP68 water and dust resistance rating, the buttons are clicky, the haptics are good, the speakers are great, and the fingerprint reader is fast and responsive. All things you would expect from a Samsung flagship. The last and perhaps most important piece of hardware we need to talk about is the S Pen. For the S22 Ultra, Samsung has put the S Pen back in the phone where it belongs. Yes, the 21 Ultra did have S Pen functionality, and yes, it was better than nothing. But for a frequent S Pen user like myself, having a silo for the pen is a huge bonus, and it really does make this phone the spiritual successor to the Note series. Whether you are taking notes, working with text, navigating a non-optimized mobile website, or creating the next $1 million NFT, using the S Pen on the 21 Ultra is a treat. Lag is basically non-existent, and while I don't use the S Pen's Bluetooth gestures a whole lot, taking a picture or starting video recording with the pen never gets old. The phone even lets you know if you ever try to leave the pen behind, which I've actually already done twice. With the S21 Ultra, if you wanted to use the S Pen, you had to buy it separately, and while it was possible to pick up an old compatible S Pen on the cheap, if you wanted the full Bluetooth-enabled S Pen experience, you had to drop $100 for the S Pen Pro, and because you couldn't put it in the phone to charge it, you had to do that separately. Not ideal. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, having the S Pen back in the phone has given me the ability to use kickstand cases again, thank the maker. Now let's talk about software. The S22 series runs Samsung's latest version of Android 12, One UI version 4.1. Now there's no getting around the fact One UI is a heavy Android skin, and yes, it does come with some duplicate Samsung apps and some bloatware. But thankfully most of those apps can be removed if you want to, and One UI does offer a lot of features and a level of customization you won't find anywhere else. One of these features is Samsung DeX, which allows you to dock your phone to a computer, monitor, or TV, essentially turning your phone into an Android-driven PC. It also allows you to play Dungeon Warfare or Balloons Tower Defense while appearing to be doing something productive. Just know that sadly, not all games are DeX compatible. Now if I'm being completely honest, I don't find myself using DeX as much as I used to because using DeX means giving up use of the S Pen. So there's definitely a productivity trade-off, at least for me. These days, my favorite One UI feature is probably Bixby Routines. For those of you who don't know, Bixby Routines lets your phone automatically perform actions when certain conditions are met. And while some other phones can also do this to varying degrees, Bixby Routines takes this to another level. The list of actions and conditions is ridiculously extensive, and if you want to, you can even add more through downloading the Routines Plus extension through GoodLock. More on that in a minute. Personally, I use Routines to save battery by turning off my phone's Wi-Fi when I leave the house and link to Windows when I leave work. I also use Routines to automatically turn on the Ultra's always on display when I charge my phone wirelessly, and to auto-rotate my screen when using certain apps. And I could go on. These may seem like small things, but when you add them all up, what you get is a customizable experience I don't think you can get with most non-Samsung devices. And if you really want to go crazy with customizations, then you can go next level and download GoodLock. GoodLock is an app you can download from the Galaxy App Store that allows you to customize your phone's lock screen, clock, quick panels, gesture navigations, Bixby Routines, and more. You can also download the Theme Park app and create your own custom phone theme with a pretty crazy level of detail. Now, spending hours customizing the color of your phone's volume slider isn't your jam. One UI offers more practical features as well, such as an edge panel for your most used apps, one-handed mode, and quick share, which lets you easily share up to 3 GB worth of files with coworkers, friends, and family, even if they aren't on a Samsung device. And for all you gamers out there, Samsung's Game Booster allows you to manage how your phone behaves when gaming and monitor your phone's performance. On the update front, Samsung is promising 4 years of Android software updates on the 22 series, which is industry leading for an Android device and only surpassed by the 5 years of updates you would get on a new iPhone. Now, one of the drawbacks of a heavy skin is the negative impact it can have on performance. But I'm happy to say performance on the 22 Ultra is perfectly fine. Because I am located in the US, my Ultra is running the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip from Qualcomm, and the phone breezes through day-to-day app use and activities without breaking a sweat. And the phone does a good job of not killing my apps when switching between them and trying to multitask. This might be somewhat due to the fact that my version of the Ultra has 12 gigs of RAM, which is what you can expect with all versions of the phone with the increased storage options. However, if you grab the base model with 128 gigs of storage, you will only be getting 8 GB of RAM. You have to remember this phone uses over 50 gigs of storage for the operating system out of the box. That leaves less than 80 gigs of true storage with the 128 gig model. And for a phone that can record in 4K 60 frames per second and 8K, that's not a lot of room. As for high-end demands like gaming and video editing, the phone is more than serviceable. I didn't bother running a bunch of benchmarks because between all the performance throttling going on, thermal, intentional, and otherwise, synthetic benchmarks are becoming less and less useful at measuring real-world performance. What I can tell you is you can play the most demanding games on the highest settings, usually without issue. Even more demanding games like Dungeon Warfare and Undead Horde. The phone can get toasty when under extensive periods of heavy load, but nothing too terrible. Battery drain, however, is another issue. If you use your phone for less performance-demanding tasks, like texting or scrolling cat videos, the phone should get you through the day with no problem. However, if you do a lot of camera work or heavy gaming, you will probably need to top off to get you to bedtime. This is really the same story you will find on most flagship phones these days, with the exception of the iPhone 13 Pro Max. That thing's battery life is honestly next level. Speaking of next level, if you want to help take this video to the next level with the YouTube algorithm, then a thumbs up and a sub to the channel would be most appreciated.
I can do that.
As for charging speeds, the Ultra is decent. I made an entire video dedicated to charging speeds of the 22 Ultra, and I can tell you pulling a full charge with the Samsung 45-watt charge brick will take around an hour and about an extra 10 minutes with the 25-watt charger. These speeds are definitely faster than the speed you will see trying to charge up a modern iPhone or Pixel, but slower than the speeds we are currently seeing from OnePlus and Xiaomi. And it's a similar story with wireless charging. You can pull a 15-watt charge if you use Samsung's own 15-watt wireless charger, which is okay. Otherwise, you can grab a slower charge from a third-party charger. The phone also has reverse wireless charging, which is something you probably won't use a lot, but it's definitely something nice to have when you need it. And speaking of need, if you want to deliver a full-fledged phone review in 2022, you need to talk about the cameras. Now, it should go without saying that there are already a lot of camera reviews out there about this phone, and some of them are quite good. So if you're looking for an uber-detailed 25-minute deep dive about the Ultra's camera system, you've got some choices. For this review, we are going to focus on the things you really need to know. To start out with, there are 5 camera sensors on this phone. The back of the phone is packing a 108 megapixel wide-angle primary camera, a 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera, and 2 10 megapixel telephoto cameras, a 3x optical zoom lens, and a 10x optical zoom lens. There is also a laser sensor to help with autofocusing. And the front of the phone has a small hole punch packing an impressive 40 megapixel shooter. The photo and video output of the S22 Ultra is not that different from the output of the S21 Ultra, but I mostly consider that to be a good thing. As you would and should expect, all the camera sensors take great photos in good light. And whether or not you prefer them over the pictures that come out of a Pixel or an iPhone will largely depend on what you prefer. Low light and night photography also produce solid shots the vast majority of the time. Portrait shots on the 22 Ultra are excellent, producing a nice bokeh effect with amazing edge detection. And you have the option to turn off pixel binning on the primary sensor to take true 108 megapixel shots when you want to capture an extra level of detail. Video on the Ultra is equally impressive. All of the cameras on the Ultra, including the front-facing camera, can shoot video in up to 4K 60 frames a second, with the primary camera able to shoot in 8K at 24 frames per second. The phone also does a pretty good job with stabilization. You should also know that for the last 15 months, 99% of the footage I have shot for this channel has been shot with either the S21 or S22 Ultra. And whether I'm recording in the studio or grabbing some eye-catching B-roll, both phones perform like a champ. In fact, they perform so well, I have no plans to purchase a dedicated video camera for the channel anytime in the near or possibly distant future. They are that good. But as I already mentioned earlier, you should expect all these things to be good on a 2022 flagship. So what sets the Ultra's camera system apart from the others? Let's start with the zoom. The zoom capabilities of the S22 Ultra are truly amazing. The 10x optical telephoto lens allows you to capture shots that most other phones can't hope to match. And in good light, most shots look pretty good all the way up to around the 50x range. It's very impressive. The phone also has a nice variety of different camera modes. The standard stuff is here, like panorama, slow motion, super slow motion, and hyperlapse. But there are also some nice exclusive modes like single take, which uses AI to create multiple pictures and video clips from a single short video capture, director's mode, which allows you to record footage with the front and rear facing cameras simultaneously, and video portrait mode, which lets you record things that look like this. I'm not sure how useful this is, but it's pretty cool. There's some pretty cool editing tools to be found as well. The coolest of which is Object Eraser, which is similar to Google's Magic Eraser and lets you remove unwanted people and objects from your photos. But without a doubt, the most powerful tools in this camera system's toolkit are its Pro modes. These modes are often glossed over or not even mentioned in a lot of reviews for this phone, and for the life of me, I can't understand why. Both the Pro Photography and Pro Video modes let you manually adjust focus, ISO, exposure, and shutter speed to your liking, and you can do this across all 4 back sensors. The Pro Photo mode also lets you take pictures in RAW. Pro Video lets you record in 24 frames per second in 1080p, 4K, and 8K, and it allows you to record in 120 frames per second. Although that you can only do in 1080p, which is a bit of a bummer since the OnePlus 10 Pro can also do 120 frames in 4K. Another bummer with Pro Video I have to mention is you can't switch between the different camera sensors on the fly once you start recording, which can limit its usefulness. Another issue a lot of people talk about with this phone is shutter lag, and admittedly this can sometimes be a problem with this phone when trying to capture faster moving people, pets, and objects, at least in the phone's point-and-click photography mode. However, the issue can usually be resolved by turning up the shutter speed and exposure in Pro Photography mode if you are willing to take the time to do it. I did a deep dive on this issue in yet another video, and once again, I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check it out. Overall, I do love the camera system on the S22 Ultra. It's not perfect, but I do think it's the most versatile and arguably the best camera system you will find on any phone today. Last but not least, let's talk price. When the phone was released back in February, the base model of the phone would have set you back $1,200. but you can grab the same US version of this phone at the time I'm recording this video in May on Amazon for $950, which is crazy and in my opinion a pretty amazing deal. Although as I mentioned earlier, I would go ahead and pay the extra $100 and get the 256 storage option with the extra RAM. Samsung phones do tend to depreciate in value very fast, even when compared to most other smartphones. And while this sucks if you're an early adopter, you can get some pretty sweet deals if you're willing to wait to pick them up a few months after launch, which is definitely the case right now. So at the end of the day, who is this phone for and should you get one? Even with the discounted price, the phone is not cheap. However, considering what you get, I do think the Ultra is a good buy for the money if you are someone who will take advantage of its premium features. If you just need a phone that handles normal day-to-day tasks that can do some gaming with solid battery life and good cameras, you can save a lot of money and just grab yourself a base S22 or Pixel 6. Heck, if you're patient, you can save even more money and grab a Pixel 6a for $450 when it drops in July. But if you are looking for a highly customizable productivity beast with a large industry-leading display, high-end performance, and a versatile camera system that is arguably the best you will find on any phone today, then the Galaxy S22 Ultra is a hard phone to beat. Well, that's all the information I have for one day, and I do feel like it was a lot of information. This is one of the longest, if not the longest video I have ever done. So first off, if you made it this far, thank you. Also, I'd be interested to know if you like this kind of deeper, more detailed phone review, or if you prefer shorter, more streamlined reviews. Feel free to let me know down in the comments so I know what kind of content you would like to see moving forward. As always, I hope you found this video useful. Thank you for watching, and until next time, this is Rando Tech Info, signing out.